In this video, we're going to have a look at setting a value in a list control based on a key that is not yet synchronized back to the database. There's an interesting twist to that in that the value that's being returned from the list is not yet set, even though the field ID is set to the value, the newly assigned value. The actual value of the list is not yet set, so that's why just even though we're setting the key for this, it's not an auto increment. So we're setting the key for this the list record. The You'll see in a moment the actual value for that record hasn't actually been set until after it's synchronized. So let's have a quick look at this. So we've got a list sitting here with a bunch of records in it, and you'll see that I've added a record number 13. And normally, if we put in record number 13, we're not going to get anything back, and I'll show you that. I'll show you why in a moment. But if I look for record number 1, for example, that'll be record number 1 in the list will be highlighted. Record number 7 example, and if we go to record number 13, you'll see that the newly assigned record, although it's not yet been synchronized to the database, is also found. So let's go and have a look to see why this is going to be an issue. What I'm going to do is run through the debugger on this one. So let's set this key to number 1. So we're going to run through the debugger to a certain point, just to the list object, I think, and then I'm just going to move this stuff over so you can have a better look. And so we've got our list object. So okay, so here's our list object here. And now we're going to go and have a look at the data in this list object. Make this a little bit bigger. So here's our data, and we've got 13 rows. We know we have 13 rows, so that's 0 to 12. Now let's have a look at the very first row. I'm going to go back down to data again. So here's our first row. We've got an asterisk key, asterisk render index, and asterisk value. That's what alpha's looking for when we do a set value. That's our key. That's the value that's being returned. And that's the field that alpha's going against when we do a return. Not employee ID down here, which is our key into our table, but rather we're using asterisk value. So let's go and have a look, and you'll see it's set to 1 in this particular case, because that's the value of our employee ID. So that's all cool. Now let's go and have a look at record number 13. You'll see that the ID, employee ID, is set to 13, the employee name, all that stuff is good. But even though the key is set to 12, which is our zero-base key, that doesn't mean anything to us. Render index doesn't mean anything to us. That's all zero-base stuff. But our value is set to a temporary value right now. It's a created value that alpha works with until everything is synchronized, and then the true value is set back. But we want to work offline in this case. We don't have an opportunity to synchronize to the database, and so what we need to do is work with this temporary value. And there are a couple of interesting issues with that. So as you can see, it does work, and let's go and have a look at the code now. So what we're going to do in this case is I'll run through the code, and then we'll run through it in the actually running as well. So we're going to get a pointer to the list object first. Then we're going to go and get the key that we're looking for, our employee key, from that text box. And then we're going to check to see if our key is actually in the list or not. So we can use this value in list to test it. So we go and see if the value is in the key. We set our new value here, which probably don't need to do at this point. But we say if in list is equal to false. So in other words, if our key value, number 13 for example, which is that temporary value that alpha sets, if that key that's being returned, because our primary key is what's being returned from the list, it's not in the list, and 13 is not the value that's in the list yet. So if that's false, then we're going to go ahead and we're going to run this code. But if it's not false, so if we did find the key, we're just going to go ahead and do a set value. So this is just normal processing down here. However, if we don't find the key, then what we're going to do is we're going to run the length of the data. So we're going to run through this object in a loop. We're going to grab the value of our employee ID, which is set to our real ID. So if that's equal to the value that we're looking for, then fine, let's go ahead and do some more processing. We're going to take our data object and we're going to stringify it so we can make some changes to it. This is probably a little bit too much, probably more processing than we need to do, but it's really fun stuff and it's really interesting to see how all this stuff works, so we're going to go ahead and do this anyway. So we're going to stringify the object key that we have. So we've got our data, record number 13, which is an object, and we're going to stringify it. And then we're going to replace asterisk value. Now the reason we're doing this is because we can't do list object dot underbar data I dot asterisk value. JavaScript, alpha, nobody likes that. So that just returns an error. So we can't use asterisk value as a property in this particular case. So we're going to change asterisk value to key value. And so now we've changed that string, and now we're going to parse this string back into an object. And now we can look at dot key value and find the value that we're looking for, which will be 13, or not 13, but the temporary value, sorry, the temporary value that alpha actually supplied. And then we're going to do a set value to that temporary value, and that actually works. So let's walk through this now. We're going to go back here, and we're going to inspect our element, and we're going to go through and look for number 13. So here's our debugger. Let's expand that a little bit. And we're just going to walk through this. Just going to move this over a little bit to see what we've actually got. And I can do this a little bit more, see a little bit better. So we've got our object, we got our value. You can see that down here. So we're looking for 13. In list is false, so 13 is not in there. There's a new value. If in list is equal to false, then we're going to run through the 13 records, and I'm just going to go ahead and process this. So now we've got our 13th record, and we know that in this particular case our data I employee is equal to our value, so that's all good. Now we're working with the record that we need to work with. So now we're going to do a data string. So our data string, this is our data string now, and you'll see if I hover over there that our we're going to be working with, you can see asterisk value in there is set to our temporary value, but we can't use asterisk value. So let's go ahead and do the next one. So data object, that we've now replaced it. Go ahead and do that. That's our new data value, this one here. So now you see that asterisk value has been replaced by key value, and now we're going to go ahead and turn it into an object again. So there's our object. Here's all our data, and you can see that we have a key value here that we can now get at. We can't get at any of these asterisk items, but we can get at key value now, which is a proper value that's sitting in the list control. And let's go ahead, and now we can just do a set value, and it just works. So thanks for having a look. Hope that makes sense.